Commissioner Fisher.
Commissioner Bott.
Yeah.
Commissioner Britton.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher, here. Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
Commissioner Knable.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens. Here. And Commissioner Woodman.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Unless there are any additions or modifications, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Britton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Stevens. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 4 tonight is open forum. This is a chance for anyone who's in the audience tonight to speak to the commission about something that is not on tonight's agenda. So the items that we will have separate times for you to speak about are the school district transition building and the Hadley Avenue apartments. If there's something other than those two that you would like to speak to the commission about, now is the time that you can step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, we'll close open forum. Item 5 is Chair's explanation of the hearing process. The Planning Commission is a volunteer advisory group to the City Council. One of the commission's functions is to hold public hearings and make recommendations on land use and zoning matters. The purpose of these public hearings is to provide an opportunity for each applicant and citizens to present information, ask questions, and express opinions. Since these proceedings are televised and recorded for the public record, anyone wishing to speak must step up to the podium and give their name and address before addressing the commission. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to present their questions, opinions on the topic. Staff reports are prepared and provided to the applicant and Planning Commission in advance of the meeting. The first step in the hearing will be for staff to present a summary of their report. The applicant will then have the opportunity to briefly explain the proposal and provide additional information or comment. Anyone wanting to speak in favor or against the proposal will then be heard. Upon completion of the testimony, the hearing will be closed to public comment. The Planning Commission will then discuss and act on the matter. 2 complete agenda packets are available for viewing on the back table. Please do not remove those items. The City Council will act on agenda item 6.1, the School District Transition Building, at their meeting on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And on agenda item 6.2, which is the Hadley Avenue Apartments, at their meeting on Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, also at 7 p.m. Item 6 is public hearings and applications. 6.1 or 6A is Independent School District 833 Transition Building, cases SP, CUP, and V 2025-014 with Max Erickson presenting.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The applicant, Coma Architects, on behalf of South Washington County School District ISD 833, has applied for a site plan review, conditional use permit, and variance to the maximum impervious surface standard to allow for an addition to the current structure located at 7,000 Jamaica Avenue South. Site is located at 70th Street and Jamaica Avenue. The site is 3.7 acres and is a previous location of Light the Way Church. The site is currently zoned R3 and is guided as public/semi-public space in the 2040 comp plan. Schools and educational facilities are permitted in the R3 zoning district as a conditional use. The applicant is proposing an 8,373 square foot addition to include classrooms, a cafeteria, and advanced learning spaces. The exterior improvements will include a garden and outdoor activity space with a basketball court. The addition will support the Next Step Transition program, which provides special education programs for young adults age 18 to 22 who are continuing their education to meet their goals in their IEP, or Individualized Education Program. The applicant is proposing to utilize the existing access off of Jamaica Avenue South. The site currently supports 88 parking stalls. However, with the proposed restriping to the lot and minor pavement adjustments, the applicant is proposing 70 parking stalls, which is exceeding the 20 that are required by code. The applicant is requesting a variance to the maximum impervious surface coverage to support the classroom space needed for the next step transition program. Currently, the site is just below the impervious surface maximum in the R3 zone, which has a threshold of 40% impervious surface. The applicant proposes an impervious surface level of about 49% of the site. The proposed addition does not alter the character of the existing neighborhood and has been designed to minimize the impacts of the surrounding residential properties. Additionally, the proposed use of the site requires additional site improvements as part of the CUP applications, such as stormwater control. The additional proposed impervious does not stray from the intent of the ordinance and continues to provide a balance on a site of green/open space. The proposed building meets and exceeds city code requirements for non-residential buildings and residential zoning districts. The building will include code-compliant materials which have been selected to complement the surrounding neighborhood. The submitted landscaping plan meets and exceeds code standards with a proposed 40 overstory trees, 6 coniferous trees, and 92 shrubs to be added. The applicant is also proposing fencing around the outdoor activity space and mechanical units. A tree inventory was conducted, and mitigation is required as part of the development. 12 trees will be installed to complete mitigation. In addition, upon review, staff have identified 20 trees currently located in a drainage and utility easement on the western and southern portion of the lot. These trees were likely installed with the initial development of this parcel prior to the city disallowing trees to be planted in drainage and utility easements. These trees will be required for removal to ensure the long-term safety of the water main pipes. The 4 proposed trees to be installed in the easement will be relocated on site, and a revised landscaping plan will be required to be submitted prior to the city council meeting. Due to the city requiring the removal of these trees, the additional removal inches will not count against the mitigation requirements. Non-residential uses in residential districts are not permitted to exceed half a foot candle at residential property lines with lighting. The proposed lighting meets code requirements with a 0.0 foot candle emitted at neighboring property lines. A letter from Washington County received May 7th, 2025 has noted that the county has reviewed the proposed site plan. It has been indicated that there is a potential requirement of an additional 15 feet of dedicated right-of-way along County State 8 Highway 22 or 70th Street. The applicant and staff are currently working with the county to address their request. This should not affect the major addition and use of the site, but may require relocating a proposed fence and the basketball court and some partial paving along the western edge. With that, I leave the recommendation before the commission. We also have Megan with COMA, Kevin from BKBM, and Kyle and Nikki from the school district to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Fisher?
So the building itself is, how do I say this? So the impervious surface issue, is that the building plus the basketball court plus the other like exterior things going on?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the total 49% that I had mentioned includes all of the additional plus what's existing. So we 9% over the 40% threshold with the basketball court and the additional paving and the new building.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Britton?
Could you highlight how I'm assuming that the reason that we have the impervious surface rules is for runoff. And how does the additional 9% or whatever that was affect the runoff from the property or storage within it?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, there is and I can back up to show you, there is a proposed stormwater pond to be constructed on the eastern edge. They're going to actually create a swale, and I can actually, let's see, I'll find. So here's the pond, and then they're gonna reconstruct a swale around here. Jeez, that's a terrible noise. Which will collect and capture any of the additional, it's designed for any of the additional runoff created from any of the expanded
Okay,
portions.
thank you.
Okay, I have more to my question.
Commissioner
So
Fisher.
on this picture, the outdoor play area, is that considered impervious surface or, I think I see it says turf, sod? I'm just wondering, like, if there is some, because this is for young adults, right? Like, I'm just wondering what the play area is. Because if it were for like early childhood, it would make sense to have a play area, but I'm wondering if that's considered impervious surface, if they can, if there's enough of that that can be tweaked so that they can actually meet the requirements.
Members of the commission, that play area the sod would not be considered impervious. As to the use of that area, I could point to the folks at the school district to talk a little bit more about what that space might be utilized for.
Okay, I just wasn't sure because I saw the word turf, if that was like a
Yeah, it should be.
astroturf or, whatever,
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay,
Any further questions for staff? All right, thank you.
Oops.
At this time, if the applicant would like to approach the podium and add anything additional.
Good evening. I'm Kyle with the district. I live in the district, 7421 Hidden Valley Trail. And I got voted to come up here, so. I'm sorry, you wanted more information?
Just anything additionally you wanted to add.
Oh, I thought you had more questions. No.
I do have a question for you, but I'll let you say
Okay.
what you want to.
No, we're excited about this. This brings two groups that we have in strip malls now into one location, and it's going to help us focus our resources and give these kids really what they need. So we're super excited about it. So, but go ahead with your question.
So my question is about the impervious surface.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you are going to have a good answer for this, or you can nominate another one of your teammates here. So I guess where I'm concerned about it is, Max in his presentation said, well, there's 88 parking spots on site now. We're gonna go down to 70. City code only requires 20 on site. A parking lot is considered an impervious surface. So I guess my question is, for variances, obviously it's a fairly high bar to grant a variance. Is there a reason why we have to keep so many parking spots on site?
We did this is Kevin with BKBM. He's our civil engineer. He could probably talk more about the parking stalls and stuff. And we do have Nikki back here too, who runs the program. And if you have any questions about the staff parking and how many spots we need, she could answer that better than me. So.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Bull with BKBM Engineers. I live at, what's my address?
Work address is fine.
11623 Fergus Street, Northeast in Blaine. So from a parking standpoint, we looked at a couple different options for different layouts and trying to get the parking to what we needed it to. Ultimately, we talked to the district, and I forget the exact counts offhand here, but there's some van parking stalls that we need, there's staff parking, and then there's also student parking. And based on all of those needs, that's where we came up with the required 80 for our site. Another big challenge is we need to get buses in and out of the site too. So we can't have parking in that main center parking lot that's currently where all the car parking is without, the buses need to be able to turn around and need a lot of space for those turning movements. So it's one of the reasons why we have to kind of keep the parking as it is here, so.
Okay, so even though city code says you guys only need 20 parking spots, just based on the use of the property as well as kind of the ongoing challenges about the types of vehicles that are gonna be in there, that's why we need all of this parking and pavement area.
You got it.
All right, thank you. Any further questions for applicant? I don't see any. Thank you both for coming up. All right, at this time, we'll open public hearing on the application. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this application can step to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close public hearing on this application. Any further comment or discussion from commission? Commissioner Stevens.
I guess I would just add, for everybody asking about the impervious surfaces, a lot of times, just for context, and I think they kind of touched on it a little bit with the stormwater, they're gonna manage it all, whether they had 50% or 59%. So it doesn't really make any difference for what leaves the site. And a lot of times, in my opinion, I feel like it's a harder sell when it's just apartments or residential or something like that versus a community building. So I just wanted to throw that in there really quick, that I think from a perspective, the impervious is pretty minimal because it'll be managed regardless. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. And kind of where I was going to my questions is more of the ordinance side of, we should only be granting variances when there is no other way that we can make it work on site. And so the extra information we had about the fact that there's some special challenges with this area, there's going to be some special vehicles that are going to be on site where we need to have this kind of extended pavement, I think makes it clear that a variance is appropriate in the circumstances. There's no other way to use that site and get to the impervious number that city code requires. So any further discussion by commission? Commissioner Bott.
This is just for my clarification. So you said the impervious surface went from 40% to 49%. The 9% increase, if I just look at the area, it's certainly not coming from the additional building, right? So is it that just the basketball court behind and plus anything that's in front of the building?
Members of the commission, it would, so the 9% would be the addition of the building, a little bit of pavement, and then we would include the basketball court. The threshold right now, as it is, it's very, very close, and I don't have the number on me. It's like just below the threshold, so it's pretty close to 40 as it is.
Okay. And this is 49% of the total area or 49% of the area outside of some other discounts or?
The site, so the parcel.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Woodman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Bott. Any further discussion on the motion? Commissioner Britton.
Does the motion include the conditions stipulated in the staff report?
Good clarifying question. Commissioner Woodman is nodding his head, so I'm assuming that's a yes.
Yes.
All right.
I was just bringing them up quick.
Oh, perfect. All right, so I have a motion to approve, subject to the conditions in the staff report. I have a second for that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 6B is Real Estate Equities, Hadley Avenue Apartments, cases CPZA ZP 2024-024, with Samantha presenting.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This item tonight is Real Estate Equities, who has applied for a comprehensive plan amendment, rezoning, and site plan review for a proposed 164-unit affordable rate apartment building. The 4.7 acre parcel in question is located at 10015 Hamlet Avenue, Lot 1, Block 1 of the Preserve at Prairie Dunes plat, which was approved in 2022. The parcel is currently guided as medium-density residential in the 2040 comprehensive plan. Medium-density residential allows 5 to 13 units per acre. This land was once guided industrial. However, with the realignment of Hadley and 100th Street, the parcels no longer made sense to support an industrial development. The parcel's configuration also does not support medium-density residential development. with 164 units proposed by Real Estate Equities. It would fit the definition for high-density residential, or 14 to 30 units per acre. High-density development here would function as a buffer between the industrial area and the single-family and townhouse residences. In 2024, the DNR purchased the former driving range of the Mississippi Dunes Golf Course, preserving that area for development. The driving range was guided medium-density residential in the 2040 plan. So to increase the density on the real estate equities parcel, the density allocated for the driving range is proposed to be transferred to the real estate equities property. The DNR property would then be guided park and open space in the 2050 comprehensive plan. This density transfer is consistent with the comprehensive plan by shifting this density within the same area of our community. The Metropolitan Council is also required to review and approve comprehensive plan amendments. The city's sector representative did verify the review and approval could be done administratively, as it meets all of the criteria for an administrative review. The property must also be rezoned from Ag 2 agricultural to R6 high-density residential, which would be consistent with the proposed comprehensive plan amendment. Apartments are a permitted use in the R6 district. The applicant is proposing a 4-story apartment building, which is under the maximum height allowed in the R6 district. All required setbacks, site coverage maximums, and parking requirements will be either met or exceeded with this proposal. The development would be accessed via Hamlet Avenue on the north side. There is a southbound left turn lane from Hadley onto Hamlet Avenue right now. The developer will be responsible for reconstructing Hamlet Avenue. The rights-of-way of Hadley and 100th Street were designed large enough to accommodate future road expansion if that were ever needed. At this time, though, the existing transportation infrastructure is capable of handling the additional vehicle trips from the proposed apartment building. There's not a schedule for that roadway project expansion. However, it should be noted traffic volumes will be monitored as more traffic uses the area with the apartments and other single-family residential development going on in the vicinity. An 8-foot wide trail was constructed along 100th Street and Hadley Avenue during the reconstruction project, and an 8-foot wide bituminous trail will be constructed by the developer on the north side of Hamlet Avenue. There will also be sidewalk connection points from the development to the trails along 100th and Hamlet Avenue for apartment residents to access the trail system. The extension of the trail along Hamlet is consistent with the 2040 comprehensive planned parks, open space, and trails map. Stormwater ponding would be provided on the site on the west and north side of the site. The applicant proposes to provide landscaping that complies with city code requirements. There are 437 qualifying inches of trees on site, all of which are proposed to be removed. City code permits the removal of 40% of qualifying inches without mitigation required. Therefore, an excess of 262 inches would be removed here and must be replaced at a rate of 50% or 131 inches. The applicant will provide 30 replacement inches and pay cash in lieu of mitigation for the remaining 101 inches. The applicant has proposed to use 65% Class 1 materials, are stone and glass as required by the code. A material board was provided to planning staff and is pictured on the slide. Site lighting shall not exceed half a foot candle at the property line. The photometric plan that was submitted only shows parking lot foot candles, and so the applicant will be required to update this plan before any building permits will be issued. With that, I am done. The recommendation for the 3 items, comprehensive plan amendment, zoning amendment, and site plan review, is on the screen for you, and I will stand for any questions, and a representative from Real Estate Equities is also here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Britton?
You mentioned that the density that was on the driving range for the old Mississippi Dunes was transferred to this site. Can you expand upon Met Council's requirement for our community as a whole to have a specific housing density within the community and how that may pertain to the desire to transfer density from one area to another?
Yes, Commissioner Britton, Mr. Chair. So the proposal would be for the density to be guided, so it has not happened yet. It would take this body and the city council to approve re-guiding this parcel as high-density residential. Essentially, the Met Council's, it is in our 2040 comprehensive plan that this area was guided as medium-density residential, just from a standpoint of density, proposed development, all of those sorts of things. However, with the DNR purchasing the driving range, that land will be preserved, it will not be developed upon, so those units of density can be shifted within the same general area with Met Council approval to give additional density to parcels within the same area. The Met Council's approval for administrative review includes things such as minimum parcel size, that this will not affect our, public utilities and infrastructure and things like that. So we have planned for this many units. They're just shifting from one part of the neighborhood or community, we'll say, to this specific parcel so that a higher density development can happen.
So how do we go from medium density to high density? Is it taking the number of homes that were, or housing units that were predicted for this area here and the number that were predicted for this area over here and combining them, and due to the challenge of the shape of this property required high density to over a broader area still having to support those same number of housing units is the reason why it needed to become high density?
Yep, so Commissioner Britton, you are correct. So the density for the medium density portion of this real estate equities parcel, like I mentioned in here, was up to, I believe, 15 units per acre. When we take the units per acre that were designated for the DNR's parcel, we're not going to be taking all of those units. We'll only be taking about 50 of those units that were designated for the DNR's parcel, shifting them to the real estate equities parcel. So we are adding those together on this real estate equities parcel to get some greater density multifamily housing that is greatly needed in the community, as well as on this specific parcel, medium density residential and single family homes on a 4.7 acre parcel would be much more difficult to develop.
So we're attempting to meet an overall community housing density, and we're using this as a tool in order to meet those overall numbers for the community as a whole.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Fisher?
Can you give an example, and you may not be able to given that you're fairly new here, of a time when we used transferred density in the past? Maybe Emily might be better suited to answer that.
I could answer, but I'll let her go for it.
Well, whoever.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, I can think of two other instances. So the Norhart project, if you're familiar, in this exact same area, one of the parcels, we conveniently refer to it as the Civic 40, but that Norhart project was approved with the transfer of density as well to meet that high density. And then the second was a project, the Blue Stem Apartments. We evaluated the area, and some of that area was preserved for quite some time as pond and open space, and so that density was not ever used. And to Commissioner Britton's point, when we look at our comprehensive plan, the Metropolitan Council guides us to a total density or growth that they would like to see the community meet. And obviously that's spread across multiple different types of, you have low density, medium, high, and however the community development or develops, you wanting to meet that standard that you've identified in your long range plan. So a little bit more than you asked for, Commissioner Fisher, but I hope that answers your question.
No, I understand. Where's the Blue Stem Apartments again, or do those not exist?
Yep.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, that is just across from Grove 80 or the old City Hall
Yep.
location. those apartments have just been constructed, actually hopefully opening within the
Oh,
next
yes, yes,
month or
yes.
so.
Like
Yep,
Dunkin' Donuts.
exactly.
Yes. I know that place. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further, Commissioner Bott?
So I do see that there is already an existing high-density residential area just next to the lot. Why is that lot not being used, and why are you rezoning this lot?
Sure, Commissioner Bott, Mr. Chair. So that parcel that you are referring to is the former Norhart parcel that was approved for up to 299 apartment units around 2023. They were attempting to revamp their site plan last year. However, that project has now been withdrawn and will not be constructed. So the Norhart project was moving forward while the real estate equities group was also attempting to move forward with their project. So the Norhart project has been dropped, so that is why there is another high-density parcel there. And it is not real estate equities property, and they were not working on that because it was anticipated another apartment development was going there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Woodman?
Yeah, is there a standard for the number of entries and exit for an apartment complex like this? I noticed there's only a single egress and ingress point. It would be going right onto Hamlet, which would then divert traffic down to Hadley and around. So it's almost like to get in and out of the apartment complex, you have to drive all the way around the complex, which I'm sure homeowners in the area would rather have that exit directly onto 100th and that type of thing. So is there a minimum or the reasoning behind that?
I'll invite our engineer up, Assistant City Engineer Crystal Raleigh, and then it might be, the applicant also looked like he may have wanted to step in and answer that, so we'll take turns.
Commissioner Woodman, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Part of the reason for the entrance being right onto Hamlet Avenue is that it's a lower volume roadway. When we've got a decent amount of traffic coming in and out of a apartment building, it's better to put them out on that lower volume roadway than it is to have several accesses on the high volume 100th Street or Hadley Avenue.
We'll hold off on applicant. We'll get to you guys. We're gonna do staff questions first, though. So any further questions for staff? Commissioner Stevens?
This is for you. So some of the stormwater stuff, there's, and maybe you can just clarify a little bit. There was some discussion about the back-to-back not meeting the freeboard requirements. I think my only question about that, because it's, so in the back-to-back, Hamlet would overflow, is that right?
Okay, Commissioner Stevens, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. This is a really interesting site as it relates to stormwater. It really sits in a low area, which it doesn't appear to be a low area when you're out there, but there's not a lot of places for stormwater to go. So it's been an interesting challenge for the development to try to meet the city's big freeboard standards. So given that, we did have them run the back-to-back 100-year. So I don't have my report right in front of me, but I believe that was something around the line of 14 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, or perhaps a 48-hour period. We evaluated that condition to see what would the stormwater do in that instance. It would overtop a little bit out onto Hamlet Avenue. At that point, it would be into the storm sewer system of Hamlet Avenue. If the storm sewer system is surcharging, we did evaluate that neighborhood to the north to see, are we flooding anybody out? And we're not. And that was, again, a back-to-back 14 inches of rain. It's a big event.
And they would still have, if it flooded, the apartment people, they'd still have access, they can just go around, right? Like, if the crossing flooded, they still have access on Hamlet, right?
That's correct, yes, the Hamlet.
I know it's like,
There would maybe be 6 inches of water in the street. I don't quote me on that,
okay,
number, but the street would still be passable in that condition, yes.
And I saw that the apartments are like well above it. It's just the hamlet. So I just wanted to ask about that with the access.
Yeah, the evaluation, what we were really looking at there was to see if it was going to overtop and go down into their garage. And it doesn't do that.
It looks like it just drops off down there. That's why I
Yep.
wanted to ask.
Yep.
So, okay.
So,
Thank you for
Yep.
clarifying that.
I have another question.
Commissioner Fisher?
It was referenced several times that this is helping meet the need of the community for this type of housing. How do we know that this is the type of housing that people in our community are looking for? Is there a survey, or is there some sort of, do you go off the census? Like, how does the city take those, I mean, where do we get that statement that we need that in our community?
Good question. Commissioner Fisher, Mr. Chair. That comes from the Maxfield Housing Research Study that we did in 2024 for the city of Cottage Grove, that found that particularly the affordable rental market in Cottage Grove is at a 0% vacancy rate. So there is a pent-up demand for this type of rental unit in the city. I believe in the report it stated that Cottage Grove could support up to 177 units of affordable residential. So this will really go towards that need in the community.
Thank you.
Commissioner Knable?
With the parking garage being about 200 feet off from the entrance, how's garbage going to be taken care of there? I mean, are they going to have a separate stall? Will it be down in the parking ramps?
Good question. Probably for the applicant.
And then just, what are the total number of stalls? I don't know if I missed it somewhere on here, but
Commissioner Knable, Mr. Chair, that is a good question. So the total number of stalls is over 300 parking stalls total on the site. They are required to, by the county for some of their funding and things, to have a 1-to-1 parking ratio of above ground parking, I'll say. So they have 164 parking stalls outside, open air. And then they also have, I believe it was around 140 or so underground stalls. So they are over 312 stalls, which is over and above what is required by city code.
thank you.
Any further questions for staff? All right, thank you very much for fielding
Thank you.
those. All right, and at this time, if the applicant would like to approach and add anything additional and maybe answer a couple additional questions.
Good evening. My name is Enrico Williams with Cost Wilson Architects. Cost Wilson Architects address 1301 American Boulevard East in Bloomington, Minnesota. I am the project manager and project architect for this particular building. I can speak to any questions you may have about the building itself. Just very high level, we are looking at 4 stories above grade, 1 level underground. The underground parking houses 148 parking stalls. There was a question about trash. Typically for this type of building, we have an internal trash and recycling chute that goes down to a trash collection room. And then during trash pickup days, the maintenance person will take a skid or a 4-wheel drive, cart the dumpsters out to the garage entrance for the garage trucks to come pick up the trash and leave. So it's as invasive as possible. There was a question about one entry point for the site. The site design was laid out for a number of different reasons, one of it being information from the traffic study, another one is working with the city, and the third is fire code. So when you're under approximately 200 units, you only need one entry in and out of the site. So for the building itself, we designed the exterior facade to meet city code standards as listed in the report. So 35% Class A materials, some Class 1 materials. The primary material will be a cultured stone look adhered to the side of the building, and then a mix of different varieties of siding, panel, and wood look siding. We have varying parapet heights at 47 feet above grade on average. The intent of the varying heights is to break down the scale and massing of the building overall as you work your way around. So mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units of various sizes. So just very high-level description of the building. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to field whatever I can.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Fisher?
Me again. I'm looking at one of the photos that shows the corner of the building really like very, very close to the setbacks of the corner of the lot.
Sure.
Around the curve of 100th. I'm just curious if there are concerns about traffic there, like, because that road's going to become very, very busy over the next 10, 15 years, right? With the development there and with the realignment that we have been planning and talking about. I'm just wondering if there's concerns about cars taking that curve too fast and slamming right into the building there, because it just seems like it's very, very close to that corner. And I know it technically meets setbacks, but also just knowing how people drive, it seems a little dangerous to me to have that so close there.
Commissioner Fisher, Mr. Chair, one thing that's important to remember about those setbacks is that these are big, wide right-of-ways. So we have a 180-footer right-of-way, I believe, dedicated through there. So most typical subdivisions have a 60-foot right-of-way and then that, 20-foot setback. So we're getting an additional, can't do the math, but it's quite a bit of open space so that it's not anticipated that that building corner is going to be a vision problem because it is set quite a ways back from the intersection itself because of that wide right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Bob?
So regarding the Hamlet Avenue realignment, is that a permanent thing or is it only during the construction? Because if I look at these drawings, it seems that it is a permanent thing, that the Hamlet Avenue is going to be realigned or rerouted. I do see a curve coming up from the site plan.
Commissioner Bott, Hamlet will not be changed, like the geometry of Hamlet Avenue, how it currently is, won't be changed. This driveway will be an additional driveway off of Hamlet as it is today. The developer will be required to increase, Hamlet Avenue is currently a rural section, so there's some gravel shoulders and ditches. The developer is required to upgrade that to an urban section with curb and gutter, storm sewer system. So that will be happening, but the road that's there today will be there after the development.
All right, thank you.
While you're still up, actually, if I can.
Commissioner Woodman?
Is Hamlet and 100th, all of that area, are those roadways measured to be able to handle this capacity into the future? I'm just not familiar with that planning there.
Yeah, Commissioner Woodman, the Hamlet and Hadley and 100th intersection was definitely designed with growth in mind. As we know, this area, the city is expanding. That design kind of started in 2016 and, was finally finished up in construction last year. But it is set up for additional traffic that's in this neighborhood and is going to be in this neighborhood over the next 5 to 10 to 15 years.
Further questions for applicants? Or staff, I guess, since Crystal's. All right, seeing none then, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will open public hearing at this time. Before we have our first person step up, we did receive 2 letters that were placed on the dais for commissioners. A letter from Annie Elmer and a letter from Lyle Bergman. Both of those will be included in the public record without objection. And so whoever would like to step to the podium first, state your name and address.
Commissioners, my name is Mike Porter. I live at 9870 Hamlet Court. So I've lived in Hamlet Court for over 20 years. It was all corn, and I have no problem with change. But listening to some of the stuff that developer and the ladies had said doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They talked about they don't have enough space for the seepage, and they talked about the garages. All these places have basements with egress windows, so you're not worried about the garage flooding. The house is going to flood. They talked about the dunes. The dunes is so far away, and it's down. It doesn't matter how much or how big they build back there, I would never see it, I'd never hear it. It wouldn't matter about the dog park, the light, nothing would bother me. These places are directly across from us. They will block our view, they will block your solar. The amount of traffic will triple from what the people that are already living there. The people that live there, we have 2 exits for 144 places. That is probably 5 times the space. All they want is to come here and have an excuse to make a bunch of money. They are going to realign 100, build that stuff down by the highway when they get the realignment. It doesn't need to be across from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Nancy Delmore. I live at 9835 Hamlet Lane. My basement has flooded several times, and they've had to redo the area around my basement. That's before you do this rainwater issue. My insurance company paid $5,000, and my homeowners association paid the outside costs. Another thing to consider is that our hamlet was not made to be a thoroughfare. Hadley is made somewhat to be a thoroughfare, but we have a school on Hadley Avenue that when you go through there at different times of the day, there's children playing in that playground. That road backs up when its parents are leaving off their children and picking them up. The school buses run all over there. The school bus runs on Hamlet. That's where the kids from my neighborhood are picked up. This is just wrong. If you wanted to empty out on 100th, that's a different story. If you go out there and look at the way it is, it's a mess. When they changed 100th to go a different direction, it really made it so I have to go through my neighborhood instead of just going out on 100th and over to Jamaica. And now we're going to have all these extra people there. The children in my neighborhood are used to playing in the neighborhood. Often they're playing on the streets. I know that isn't probably right, but if you're going to turn it into a racetrack. Plus, when I was younger, I volunteered for South Washington County's Community Justice Program. And I know that 80 to 90% of the police calls were for the high-density apartments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Nelson. I live at 9874 Hamlet Lane South, which is again those townhomes directly to the north. Kind of getting a lot of assurances that we're not really going to be affected, but I mean, we live there. It doesn't really pass the eye test to me, especially something of that density in a rather small section of land there, which again has a limited entry point as it is. The way things are currently, we're already getting a bunch of houses that are built that were not there even 10 years ago. We have massive expansion already going on in our neighborhood. And I can tell you, even if people are going on to 100th rather than Hadley, not everybody's going to be going on to 100th. A lot of those people are going to be going up Hadley. And I don't know if anybody is aware of it on the console here, but 80th is already becoming a problem at the intersection at Hadley, 80th and Hadley. It's backing up to the point where we're having accidents at that stoplight at the Holiday at 80th. And there's another stoplight directly to the east there from the 80th intersection with Hadley. And I can't see how this problem gets any better with all of that. And then on top of this, I feel like we don't talk enough about how the Pine Hill Elementary School is already at capacity. And we didn't really get what we needed as far as expanding that. And we already have houses going up near the dunes over there and all around our townhomes. And I don't know, I guess I'm not understanding how what we're doing is gonna be properly supported by the existing roads and the school infrastructure. And I know the school board's desperate to get their schools expanded, and I feel like we're just putting them behind the 8 ball with all this, on top of putting the rest of us behind the 8 ball with really a really concentrated, large expansion in one area. Anyway, that's some of my concerns. Hopefully that'll be things that'll be considered.
Thank you.
Hello, Bonnie Matters, 6649 and Skip Avenue South. It's nice to see you. My only questions are this. I know the Met Council requires high density. I understand that and I understand why. I guess what I would like to know is, does the Met Council then look at the infrastructure that's required from a water standpoint, energy standpoint for heating and lighting, and also waste? So that's what I'd like to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? All right, seeing none, we will close public hearing on the application then. I'm gonna have staff address some of the concerns or questions that were brought up, so that way we can get those answered for the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right. So let's see here. So when we talk about the stormwater, the flooding of houses and everything across the street, I will probably have to defer more to our engineering crew, but I just want to we heard Crystal talking about the water that would overspill into Hamlet, that would be 6 inches, that it's not anticipated that it would impact any of those surrounding residences, the townhomes, single-family homes, all of that has been investigated. Let's see, when we talk about the future, realignment of 100th Street and better places for this type of development, the city is actively, working on future redevelopment or future planning for these types of projects, like the realignment of 100th Street. However, those projects are not ready right now. Those areas are not ready for development right at this moment. And like I mentioned earlier, the housing research study says that we need this multifamily housing in Cottage Grove right now to house our people. There's a 0% vacancy rate right now. When we talk about the schools and the overcapacity that the city understands, and the school district, who was just here tonight, of course, understands all of that. The city has bi-weekly meetings with the school district. We are very much connected with them. They have several projects that they are bringing forward, including many more that you will be seeing in the coming year and the coming years ahead for expansion of various schools within Cottage Grove within the school district. So school district is well aware of their needs. They are addressing those needs, and the city is working with them on addressing those needs. When we talk of the size of the parcel, the density, the development size, it is this is a smaller parcel at 4.7 acres compared to, say, the other parcel, the former Norhart parcel and everything. But the developer has done a very good job of fitting in what they could fit in on this parcel as far as the number of units, the parking that they were required to add due to the county's requirement for that 1-to-1 outdoor parking. They've really fit what they could fit on the parcel. They meet all of the city's standards for, our setbacks, our height, our impervious surface coverage, all of those items. And then regarding the Met Councils for higher density, if they look at, energy, wastewater, all of those types of things, that is another big part of what the Met Council does. They look at not just the density needs, but if we need this density, how will that affect the other portions of our communities? The wastewater needs, the water needs, the energy needs, all of that is something that the Met Council does take into consideration, and it's something that we as a city are required to also be taking into consideration as we move towards our 2050 comprehensive planning process. I'll stop there.
All right, I think that's all I had too. Samantha, I just do want to ask you about the density, because I know there's been some discussion about the size of the property, and is this an appropriate property based on it being just under 8 acres, I think it is, for a high-density project. How we measure density, how the Met Council measures density is based on the size of the lot itself, correct?
Correct.
And so when we're talking about a high-density unit of being over 15 units per acre, that calculation's already factoring in the size of the property as well, correct?
Mr. Chair, you are correct. So high density is going to be that 15 to up to 30 units per acre. When running the numbers for this particular project, we hit around 21 units per acre. So we aren't even at that total maximum there. However, this number is what the site can handle, as far as we can see that they are meeting all of our code standards, but they are just meeting them. So that's important to note.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Britton.
Could you expand upon 100-year back-to-back and what that means, and how likely it is to occur when you talk about storms?
That might be a Crystal
Commissioner
question.
Britton, I will certainly have Crystal expand upon that for you.
And Crystal, maybe you can answer Commissioner Britton's question first, but then touch on the issues with neighbors having basement flooding and
Yep.
what's going to happen with this project as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioners, when we talk about the back-to-back 100-year storm, this isn't something that we're modeling often. This is something that we model in a condition where, some areas of development are situated maybe higher on a hill than other areas. So in those typical scenarios, we're evaluating a 100-year storm and looking at where it overtops and what happens if we get some big catastrophic rain event. In areas like this one, when there's not really a lot of space for the stormwater to go, that's when we look at a back-to-back 100-year storm. So we really dive in and, double the amount of water that comes to the site artificially through a stormwater model. And then we look at where does the water pond to in this development when we run that back-to-back storm. It's important to note that the townhomes to the north were constructed under different stormwater standards, which are less stringent than our stormwater standards today. So while there may be some flooding that's happening in the townhomes to the north on big storm events, it's likely due to the standards that subdivision was designed under. Today's standards are much more stringent, and we're requiring the site to contain more of its stormwater than would have been required in the past. Does that answer the question?
So 100 years back-to-back, how likely is that to occur? It isn't something you expect to happen very often. It's a worst-case scenario that you're planning for, and if it were to happen, you're expecting some water to pool off into the street, but it'd still be drivable.
Yeah, that's correct. In my lifetime, haven't seen a back-to-back 100-year storm event. I mean, I think we've seen some events around here, maybe approaching 10 inches in a 24-hour period. That's a pretty high flood. This wouldn't overtop to Hamlet Avenue in a 10 inches in 24-hour rain event. It would take something bigger than that. And even in that instance where we're overtopping to Hamlet Avenue, we're still not into the subdivision to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Do we know which school, which elementary school this parcel is being directed to? I know Pine Hill is the closest one, however, I know that the development to the, would be west of there is Pullman. So do we know where the kids that would potentially live here would go? You're both
Mr.
looking at me
Chair.
like you know.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, what I'll say is, from a city's perspective, no, we don't know exactly. However, I do know that the school district, as Sam mentioned, we meet with them biweekly, and we also provide them monthly updates with our projects. And so I'm certain they're planning internally, but to your point, yes, some of those students are going to Armstrong, so Pine Hill, I'm not certain the
Right.
answer there.
Because the gentleman who was up here talking about the school being, inundated, I see that. I live on that side of the highway, I guess. And we do see that. My kids go to Pullman and have seen quite a large influx of kids from that new development just south of Summers Landing. So I do think that's an important consideration, especially with something this large, because the number of kids is bound to be pretty large.
Yeah. I did want to mention that the school district does utilize the comprehensive plans of the city when they're, designing future plans for the school. So they're looking at our future land use too. So I know they're anticipating growth and development in this area, and that is triggering some of the projects that they're doing currently under that referendum, which I understand. I think Pine Hill's coming.
Right. Has this project specifically been addressed? Because we're asking to go from medium density to high density. I mean, that's a fairly large jump in what they maybe have been planning for or considering.
Right, but with that density swap from the SNA property to this property, it's still the same amount of homes that they were in our planning.
So they haven't talked directly about this specific one, but.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fisher, they're well aware that this project has been on the horizon. This project has been in the works for quite some time, and we've had that open communication with the school district. They're well aware.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments, discussion from commission? Okay, I don't see any. Well, I want to thank everyone for coming out and giving your opinion, even just sitting and listening and being a part of the process. It's not very often that we get a full audience to see these meetings, but anyone who's been here before can tell you I give the same speech when we have a lot of people show up, is thank you for showing up, because this is the most direct form of government that has an impact on your life every single day. And so the fact that you show up and you care about your neighborhood, you care about your families, you care about your kids enough to come out on a Monday night when it's raining cats and dogs outside, says a lot about you, and it says a lot about what you want Cottage Grove to be better. All of us up here do too. None of us are getting paid to do this. We all live in the community just like you, and we're trying to do what we think is best for the community based on the information we get. What I can tell you is this, based on my personal view of what's going on right now. At this point, it was already guided as medium residential. My back of the napkin math meant that even without re-guiding this, a developer could already put 100 units on that lot and would not have to come before us. We wouldn't have to be doing any re-guiding, rezoning, and they would already be able to do that without question. So the question is now, if we're adding 50 more lots or 50 more units to this piece of property, while protecting some other part of land in the city so that we can have some more park and open space, does that make sense knowing we have a need for this type of housing where there is none left? To me, that makes sense. I think the developer has done a good job here of making sure they're taking concerns about how many units are going in, about what's going on in this neighborhood, because they could have put a lot more lots on this property. I think the planning staff report says they could have put 234 units on this piece of property and been within the high density. And they're not asking for that, but they're asking for something that is gonna give the city what it needs as far as housing, and is gonna give them the ability to do this, and obviously make some money, because that's the business they're in. But it's something that the city needs, and at least in my view, I think the developer is trying to do what they can to be a good neighbor, and to make sure that the people who are moving into this area can be neighbors to you all as well. I think the concerns about the school district, obviously, that's a concern. The school district is a separate government organization. They have their own budget, they have their own needs, they control their own buildings. All we can do is tell them, here's what's going on in the city, here's what we're expecting, and it's their job to make sure that they're budgeting and putting students in desks where they can do that. Based on the presentation I've seen tonight, I believe that this is in the best interest of the city and that there is a good reason to amend the comprehensive plan and rezone this property in order to do this development. Anyone else like to speak? Commissioner Stevens.
I'll just clarify, I was asking about the storm event, knowing, just curious to kind of hear, but that, to add a little bit more clarification, that back-to-back storm event we were talking about, it's less, so just 100-year event is less than a 1% chance. Back-to-back, you have to have, I don't know the statistics, but 1% and then a 1%. It's like, it's rare. But it does look to me like, obviously, all of that work was done and the city would have all of that assessment and everything for any downstream impacts, which makes me feel pretty good, and like the due diligence was done for the stormwater piece of it. So, I mean, I agree. It seems like the developer has done everything kind of asked and checked all the boxes and done what they could.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Woodman.
I do, I am in agreement that it's likely the right plan forward, but I would like to have the city come up with some type of comprehensive plan for this particular quadrant, like these 4 lots, at least an idea of what should be there, knowing that North Star, whatever that was called, is now canceled or withdrawn. We're shifting what was going to be one big complex into another. What does that, like, ideal state, what do those 4 look like, taking into consideration what's been shared tonight, since we do have 3 more lots there now that don't really have clear owners to them. I would just like the city to come back with some type of idea in the future of how those should be used ideally, since I don't think putting 4 giant complexes there would be the right idea. But, yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Any further comment?
I'll say one thing.
Commissioner Fisher.
This one is hard for me personally because I understand what everyone has said out there. But as a commissioner and as somebody looking at this, willing seller, willing buyer, a plan that meets all of the laws and codes that we work so hard to keep updated and clear. You know, it's something, I agree with my fellow commissioners that have spoken, that it's something that we can't legally as a commission say no to. So, right? Is that reasonable?
I agree.
So, so I appreciate what Chair Fraser said too about that we like when people come out and talk about it, and so that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone further? All right, seeing none at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Well, since Our whole role here is to interpret the zoning and planning rules that we have in place and apply them to the project before us. I see that this project meets the rules that the community has in place at this time, and I make a motion to approve based on the findings of fact and subject to the conditions stipulated in the staff report.
All right, thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Britton. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Stevens. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 6C tonight is the Summer Woods application, case ZAPP 2025-001. There's a request from staff and the applicant to move that to the June meeting. And so without objection, we'll just table that, or do we need a vote on that? All right, so we do need a motion and a vote on that. And so based on the request by staff and the applicant, is there a motion to move?
I will make a motion to table the Summer Woods cases to the June 23rd meeting.
All right. I have a motion to table the Summer Woods application to the next meeting on June 23rd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Woodman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 7A is the approval of the March 24th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Unless there are any additions or modifications, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve March minutes.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Knable. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second from Commissioner Bott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item 8 is reports. 8A is recap of April and May city council meetings with Emily presenting.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, ironically, I'm going all the way back to April, and our meeting in April was canceled due to some inclement weather, but hopefully it was just some rain out there this evening. So back to April 2nd, the council did approve the Mississippi Landing Second Edition final plat, which is an additional 80 lots that were approved then down in that Mississippi Landing development. Things are moving along down there quite well, so we'll see the activity for that second edition this summer, this construction season. The Quick Trip site plan that was before you a handful of months ago on Jamaica 95th was approved at that council meeting that evening. And finally, the council did meet with Twin City Land, who is a developer working with the Tank family, ultimately the property on the east side of Keats Avenue. In the very early stages, just taking a look at a concept plan for those acres on that side of Keats Avenue. So I would anticipate perhaps that will come before you, so I wanted you to have a heads up that those conversations were happening. April 16th meeting, the council did adopt the housing study that you had heard mentioned earlier this evening. We did a lot of work over the last year to make sure that we had a solidified study, so Maxfield does have that complete study in our files. The annual code updates that were before you earlier this year, we try to make sure that we're staying on top of our code, and as we navigate through the year, if there are different codes that need to be updated, tweaked to be easier to enforce or integrate and as part of projects, we want to make sure that we're staying up on those, so those were approved. Finally, Leafline Labs, their conditional use permit request was approved as well. May 7th, I only had one that I wanted to mention, is council did approve the hiring of a city engineer. That position has been open for some time, so Paul Sponholtz will be joining the organization sometime around mid-June as he transitions into his new position. So we're looking forward to filling that. And then May 21st, that final meeting in May is actually this week, so I'm a little bit ahead, but the council will be reviewing the Lock Ridge final plat, which is that parcel just close to our Woodbury border on Jamaica Avenue there. So they'll be entertaining that final plat for that work perhaps to start this summer. So that was a mouthful, 2 months worth of updates. As you can see, Mr. Justin Olson is not with us this evening as he is in Las Vegas at the ICSC conference. However, Dave Clausen has joined us this evening, and he has made himself available for any questions that you all might have for him this evening.
Thank you, Emily. Just filling in for Justin, and Justin's much better at speaking than I am. If you have any questions for the council, I'm happy to try and answer them, but she did a great job of reviewing the last 2 months.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Emily or Councilmember Clausen?
That, the plat by Woodbury, that's the next extension of Regan Parkway, correct? Is that the plat?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Woodman, yes. So as a part of that project, that segment of Ravine Parkway will go in as well.
All right, thank you. B was response to planning commission inquiries. I don't think we had any from the last meeting. Oh, just one. Emily, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, there was a response in there, a letter. There were some questions posed about the code amendments and the EIS-EAW process and how that relates to state statutes. So there was a response in there for you.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me about that. All right, so we did receive that letter. It was part of the packet, so we'll consider that closed. C tonight is planning commission requests. Any requests from commission? Commissioner
I
Bott.
do have one, yeah. So, as we're going through the discussion today, I was wondering, can we get a quick guide somewhere with respect to all these zoning min and max specifications with regard to number of housings? I know it's included in the packet, instead of going back to the packet every time to look up that answer. I mean, could we have like a, I don't know, a website or someplace where we can easily access those?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bott, we'd be happy to put together, I'm going to call a little bit of maybe a cheat sheet. That would be a quick reference guide for all of you, absolutely.
Right. If you could print that out and have it ready, that would be great.
Yes, we'd be happy to.
Any further requests? Commissioner Bott.
One more request, and again, going back, we keep talking about this Met Council surveys with regard to the fact that we have no affordable housing left in the city. Is that again somewhere we can access that information?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bott, yes, we can provide you those sections of our comprehensive code or our comprehensive plan, as well as our housing study that was just recently adopted. And all of that data is incorporated into both of those documents.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, she presented that, the minute I asked that question, I remembered her presenting that a few months ago, right?
March meeting, I think, or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, sorry.
All right, any further requests? All right, we'll move on to 9, which is the annual organizational meeting. We already did officers at the March meeting, but there was a motion by staff to table the rules until our next meeting. We missed April, so here we are in May. The proposed rules were included at the back of the packet for everyone to review, unless there are any, Emily, you don't want to highlight anything for us? All right, so unless there are any additions or modifications someone wants to make to the rules, I would look for a motion to approve the rules.
I will make a motion to approve the rules for the 2025 Planning Commission.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fisher. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Knable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. Last thing before we adjourn tonight, this is Commissioner Stevens' last meeting. So we will miss her on the commission. Emily, you've been a great member to have, just because you have that engineering background and the stormwater background in order to field those questions and ask those questions when appropriate, because most of that goes way over my head. So I really appreciate your expertise you bring to the commission, and the fact that you do such a great job every time we come to meetings. So thank you very much for your work for the city, and the work for this commission. So we'll miss you.
Thank you.
Anything you'd like to say? The floor is yours.
Just thank you. I'll hopefully be back. Hopefully it's just a break. So, yeah, it's been great working with you all. So I've learned a lot.
All right. Well, with that, then I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Why don't you do it? Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Stevens. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Fisher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.